We want to welcome everybody to In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, and we are live in our beautiful First Star Logistics studios. We got some unbelievable digs here, and I'm joined by the one and only Dave Burke. He is the First Star Logistics podcast. Dave Burke is the brains behind the whole operation. All I do is sit here and talk to you. So we want to welcome Dave to the podcast video cast here, and we're going to do a little summation of another rough day at the office for the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, one thing about this football team, they have some resilience. They don't quit 2 weeks in a row. I mean, they're down 24-0, come back 24-22, can't finish. This week, down by 2 scores in the fourth quarter, come back to tie it, take a lead in overtime, still can't finish. So they're getting closer. They never did take a lead in last week's game, but this game today, they take a lead in overtime and can't finish the football game. Unfortunately, right now, with those 2 straight losses, Dave, they're taking away their margin for error. I mean, they're backing themselves into a corner. They've got four games left, 2 of them division opponents, Baltimore and Cleveland, and all you got otherwise is Kansas City and Denver on the road. I'm mile high. I've been there. You can't breathe. The altitude affects you. There's no 2 ways about it. And they're a good football team at home.
Dave, I made the drive down. I live in Centerville. I made the drive down here to the studio.
Yeah.
And I just was watching part of the Browns and Ravens game, and I'm going, oh, my goodness, what an opportunity for this team. They have a chance to win a game, first place AFC North, and have the 4th seed, if I read that right.
Yep.
And to sit there and watch the heartbreak, Darius Phillips. That's the thing we have to talk about right off the bat.
Sure. 2
muff punts.
Yeah.
You can't stand for that. If you want to have a team that's going to win football games, especially when you get into December.
Well, when you go -2 in the turnover department, you're going to lose the football game. Here's where -2 ranks. Since 2019 in the National Football League, the team that goes +2 is 126 wins, 15 losses in the tie. They win over 89% of the time. So that means the team that goes -2 is winning less than 11% of the time. So you go -2, you got some uphill battle there. And really, you got to give credit to the 49ers. They took care of the football. Ball security was a big deal. I can't say enough about Joe Burrow. He took care of the football, and he did have 1 interception was nullified by penalty. But, I mean, this guy is so competitive. He is so unbelievable. His numbers, I mean, and he was saying he was throwing about 85% velocity is what he figured. But his numbers on the day, 25 of 34, I believe it was. Yes, 25 of 34, 348 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interception, a quarterback rating of 125.6. He is so competitive, yet he has that unbelievable balance. He never loses his mind. He's composed. His heart rate is low. He's got the same look on his face, that poker face, no matter what. This guy, Dave, and you've seen him like from way back in the Wayback Machine, he is special with a capital S. There's no 2 ways about it. They can't waste time. They got to surround Joe Burrow with an opportunity to win football games because this dude is the real deal, big time.
Dave, I have to ask this. No rhythm to the offense in the first half at all. And it was just you sit there and you scratch your head wondering, if your number 1 weapon is Joe Burrow and you've paid all this money out there for these receivers,
right?
Use them.
Well, here's the thing that bothered me in the football game. The first drive of the game, the Bengals go 3 and out. Joe Mixon right guard, Joe Burrow incomplete, and they threw it twice. But they end up Joe gets hit for -2 yards, so it's 2nd and 12, 3rd and 12. It doesn't work out. 1, 2, 3 and out. The first drive is like couldn't be any worse. The first drive to start the second half, the first drive in the 3rd quarter, they get the ball to start the second half. Again, a 3 and out. Joe Mixon right tackle, Joe Mixon left tackle, Samaje Perine left guard. Running 3 straight times, punt the football away. All right, so now, like you're talking about, in overtime, the Bengals have the football at the 26-yard line, 1st and 10 at the 49 or 26-yard line. Joe Mixon right guard for 4 yards. Okay, 2nd and 6. Joe Mixon left tackle for 3. Then you throw the ball on 3rd and 3 and you get sacked. Don't you take one shot at the end zone? Don't you take one shot at the end zone? I mean, if you're going to take a chance on 3rd down, that's the only shot you're going to be able to take at the 3rd down in the end zone. I mean, that worked out like it might work out. They're just pinning their ears back and coming. I mean, to me, the guy who brought you back was Joe Burrow, throwing to all these receivers. And Dave, this was the other thing about Joe Burrow. You talk about a guy distributing the football. 5 catches to Higgins for 114 yards, 5 catches to Chase for 77, 4 to Uzama for 56, 4 to Boyd for 45. You kidding me? You can't distribute the ball any more equally than that. He's going to every quadrant of the field, deciphering coverages, getting the ball, knowing that they're playing quarters or they're playing cover 2 and they're vacating the middle of the field with the safeties. He's hitting, Higgins in the middle of the football field. Hey, every one of Higgins' catches were 19 yards or more. Every single one in the middle of the football field, a lot of them. Oh, man, this team is entertaining and exciting, but so frustrating right now. So frustrating. Unbelievable.
As a fan, you sit there and, again, I stress, offensive play calling conservative. Let's be real here. They have been too conservative. You go back to the beginning of the season against Minnesota, and you're aggressive. And everyone's excited because, okay, let's take a chance. Let's be aggressive. And then today you're not seeing that. And is it just that, the little bit of tightness of going on, you making that play call? If you're Zach Taylor, you're making that call, you're getting a little bit tight, overthinking things. It seems that way.
I will say, Dave, that in the post game, Zach Taylor stepped up when he was asked about that, not throwing the ball at all on that from the 26-yard line in overtime until the sack. He said, you're right. I probably won't be able to sleep very well tonight. Most head coaches in the NFL would say, oh, yeah, well, you're going to second guess everything. What if we threw it and threw an interception? What if we threw it and the quarterback gets sacked and gets stripped for a fumble? I've heard a lot of head coaches do that. It's always contrary. You can second guess any call, and that's true. Any call can be second guessed. But I will credit Zach Taylor for living in the reality of the moment and saying, you know what? You're right. I probably should have. I got to rethink that. I won't be able to sleep much tonight. That told me a lot about Zach Taylor. He stood up and took some accountability and didn't just, play it off like, oh, yeah, you can guess every call I make. 95% of the head coaches in the National Football League would do that. I do think that Zach Taylor is trying to learn on a week-to-week basis. I do think he's a smart guy. And that's the beauty about the National Football League is literally you can second guess every single call in a game that was decided like this one because there's going to be more than a handful, a lot of times more than 2 handfuls of plays that you can go back to and say, if this happened, if that happened, it's Christmas season. If and buts for candy and nuts, be Christmas every day, Dave.
Again, I'm glad he's saying he's not going to sleep because, you had everything in your going for you.
Yeah.
You had momentum and you still go after, you have Bosa and Fred Warner and you went right at Fred Warner. And he made you pay for it. He stopped you.
Well, yeah, I think, honestly, the offensive line is going to get a lot of grief, and they gave up a bunch of sacks. But I'll tell you, did you think the 49ers offensive line played pretty well? I thought they did. I thought they played pretty well. They gave up either 4 or 5.
There was like 5 sacks.
5 sacks by them and 6 against the Bengals, I believe. I think it was 6 and 5. So, both teams had their issues in terms of protection. But this 49er football team, who was going to run the football? They had injuries at the running back position. Who was going to play in the back end and the secondary? And the Bengals did abuse it. Joe Burrow almost threw for 350 yards. There's no 2 ways about it. But both quarterbacks definitely took their licks. I'm trying to see. Let's see, pass attempts. Where are the sacks here? Here we go. Yeah, 5 each. Both teams get sacked a fistful of times. Obviously, the other thing is I was talking about keys to the game on the pregame show. I talked about turnovers. I said, obviously turnovers are going to be a big key in every football game. You got to compete in the turnover battle. And then I said, situational football, red zone. The San Francisco 49ers scored a touchdown. Over 75% of the red zone opportunities, percentage-wise, leads the National Football League. The Bengals were just under 70%, like 69 point. They were third in the NFL. The Bengals go 1 for 5 in the red zone, 1 touchdown in the red zone. 49ers go 2 for 4. That's the difference in the game. The Bengals didn't score a point in one of the red zone opportunities. Unbelievable. I mean, when you get right down to it, some of the basic principles, third down, turnovers, red zone, all those things win and lose football games for you, and you gotta handle them.
Yeah, you sit there and you talk about the sacks. Trey Henderson again came up big early, then goes out with the injury. Even though they got more sacks, didn't quite seem to be the same pressure that he would bring on that other end. And for Hubbard, it was a matter of some stunts that helped put some.
But that's what got Hendricks in his sack too. They ran a twist, and he came inside, and he didn't get that sack against Trent Williams. He got it on a twist, on a stunt inside. And I honestly think, watching Trent Williams confirmed it today, I said before the game, I think he's the best lineman in football. I don't think he's just the best tackle. I think Trent Williams may be the best lineman in football. And honestly, what happened on the back injury to Trey Hendrickson is he was maybe twisted a little bit, and Trent just jammed him, just stoned him in his chest, and had him like twisted awkwardly. Like I said, hopefully it's just a muscle spasm situation for Trey Hendrickson. Maybe he had some muscles that tightened up around the vertebrae or whatever in his lower back. I had a back injury one time between my shoulder blades. That was brutal, because everything you do is with your shoulders, your arms. I mean, you can't move your shoulders freely and easily. Hopefully his isn't up high. Hopefully it's nowhere. I mean, it's not any kind of a spinal injury. I hope it's surrounding soft tissue or musculature and nothing in the spinal column. Hopefully nothing like that. I'm knocking on wood everywhere I can find it, because you need him. Without Trey Hendrickson and Logan Wilson, you're down 2 studs on your defense if it's for any period of time.
Yeah, and nothing against Joe Bocci, because I've watched him play since his prep career through Michigan State and so forth. But I mean, at the same time, it's not Logan Wilson. There's a reason, you drafted Logan Wilson.
And I do give the Bengals defensive coaches some credit. They came out with a 5-man defensive line look today, which I thought was good and smart, because you got problems at the linebacker position. They got a sack out of that 5-man look twisting. They did a pretty good job stopping the run out of the 5 defensive lineman look. So they ran some multiple formations and personnel groupings as well. It's just, bottom line is, when the 49ers had to make a play, they ended up making the play. What about the interception that Jesse Bates dropped? Oh my God. That would have been the 49ers don't give the football away the whole game. That was the one. He made a great read. They basically rolled the safeties. They dropped the strong safety out, and they dropped the free safety Bates into the box. He read it, broke on the route, did everything right, but catch the football. And that's the most important thing. Doesn't catch it. If he catches it, he may go to the house. Maybe a pick 6. Opportunity knocked, didn't open the door there. Well, that one was a missed opportunity.
Another one, McPherson missed a field goal opportunity. How important was that?
What about the missed opportunity the 49ers had?
Yeah, but
at the end of the football game, when it was missed wide right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, in a one-score game like that, you can go to, like I said, you can go to. That's. I know what Zach's talking about when he says I won't sleep at night, because when I played in games like this, I lay down on my bed and I look at the ceiling, and the ceiling became a big, huge movie screen, and all I saw was plays in my head over and over again that I thought I didn't do the job I was supposed to do on, and didn't get 1 wink of sleep. And man, those nights are tough nights, and the Bengals are looking at that kind of night, both players and coaches.
And I think, as a fan, if you're looking at everything and you're sitting there going, Zach Taylor, you think about Zach Taylor. Yeah, he's not sleeping, but you go through and look at it. Has never won a game when trailing in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Oh,
no, at the end of the third quarter. At the end of the third quarter, not won a football game. Trailing at the end of the third quarter, they're 0-24, 0-25 now.
0-24.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's,
they flashed that up on the TV screen I saw. 0-23 when trailing at the end of the third quarter. And they had the lead in overtime. Could have broken that string. And this is a much better football team than the 2 teams that Zach Taylor was throwing out there on the football field personnel-wise in his first 2 seasons. There's no doubt. They're close. And people are saying, they're losing to average football teams. What team in the NFL is not average? I mean, there's not a team in the NFL that hasn't lost 4 games. I mean, there's not a dominant team in the National Football League. But the thing is, you have to finish some of these games when you – now, they won some close games. You know, they had to come from behind to beat Jacksonville at home. That's the thing that's mind-boggling to me. Right now, the 49ers are 5-2 on the road. Every single win they've got on the road going east, west to east, all 3 time zones. It's remarkable. Here's the 49ers road wins. The 49ers beat Philadelphia on the road. They beat Detroit on the road. That's no great shakes. So they beat Philadelphia. Still no great shakes. They go to Chicago. They win. They go to Jacksonville. So their schedule is, questionable. And they beat the Bengals. All 5 games. They're 5-0 traveling West Coast, East Coast. In my mind, that's harder than going east to west. Now, the later kickoff helped them today, I think, making body clock adjustments. But they're 1-4 in their division. And they get swept by the Seattle Seahawks. What the heck? I mean, it's crazy. And you look at the finish of the season, the last 4 games the Bengals have. The Bengals difficulty of schedule in the last 5 games, counting today's game, they were in 5th toughest schedule in the National Football League. 4 AFC North teams and the Carolina Panthers. Those were the 5 teams that had the toughest finishing schedule in the NFL. So the good news is the Bengals are in the same boat as Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, all of them. But man, like I said, they're cutting down their margin for error. They had a golden opportunity to win one or both of these football games and put themselves in such a great position, and now they're scuffling, Dave.
Dave, 4 losses, 3 points. Bears, Packers, Jets, now the Niners.
Yeah.
I mean, you sit there and look where this team could be.
Yep, and you look at it in some of the close victories. Minnesota in overtime, they beat Jacksonville by 3. So they certainly the thing that's crazy about this football team, they've hit the 41-point margin is ridiculous. I'm trying to find the note that I had on that. They have they won by 41 points. Like, here it is. Where is it? They're the only team in the NFL that has they've won the last 4 wins. They've won by 19 or more. They've lost by 19 points in their last 2 losses. I'm trying to find that stat I had on 41 points. It's ridiculous. They're the only team in the NFL that's lost 2 games by 41 points and won 1 or something by 41 points. That's a ridiculous deal. I mean, scoring 41 points, winning by 19-point margin or more. They've blown people up. They've got blown out by big margins. And that's the thing. That's the roller coaster ride about the National Football League. You have teams that from one week to the next, it's like you don't know what to expect. The inconsistency, the roller coaster's up, the roller coaster's down. I mean, you don't have that level of consistency where there's just little blips in the screen. But overall, the coaches know what exactly to expect on a week-to-week basis. In the NFL today, and the Bengals are a great example of it.
We have a comment from Dante, and I agree with Dante here. Another thing that burns my grits. I hate when a team is struggling with something. Coming into playing the Bengals and suddenly becomes a strength. It's no different with the Reds. You bring a guy in from the minor leagues against the Reds, he'll throw a no-hitter.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy. The other thing is, Dante, I agree with that. The other thing that drives me nuts is when they say, oh, the Bengals came out flat. Believe me, they knew exactly what the situation was. If they had made some plays early in the football game, you wouldn't have been saying they came out flat. What it is, when you don't do something that you could have done, it takes the air out of the sails. It's not that you came out flat. It's that you don't perform and the other team does perform. And human nature is, now I've lost momentum. How do I recapture momentum? It's not – that's an excuse. That's a catch-all. Oh, they came out flat. They came out and didn't execute. That's the bottom line. Man, got to make plays. You're paid to make plays. That's what it boils down to.
I'm sitting here looking at my notes. I mean, I tracked – when we got to the second half, I started looking at tracking the plays. And we got in the fourth quarter, and you're sitting there going, okay, it's 20-6.
Right.
This game, technically in the past, you'd say, is over. but not in this year in the NFL, because if you watched football any week this year, even today, you saw the Ravens almost come back with their backup quarterback to beat the Browns.
Yep.
They just fall short. The Buccaneers ended up pulling off over the Bills. Now the Bills look like the Bengals. They're not winning. They're finding ways to lose.
The Bengals look like a lot of teams in the NFL.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the thing, Dave. Who's the dominant team? I guess you'd have to say the New England Patriots right now. I mean, obviously they've won the most games in a row. I mean, the New England Patriots are, and they've got the best coach in the National Football League, and they've got a rookie quarterback that fits their what the best coach in the National Football League wants them to do and how he wants them to do it. They've got a great defensive football team. I don't know. You'd have to say that they're about as good as anybody in the National Football League right now. They do one thing in my mind that is uber important: take care of the football. What they say is, "You're good enough to beat me. You're going to have to beat me. I'm not going to help you by beating myself by making stupid mistakes in terms of turnovers and dumb penalties." This taunting stuff is driving me nuts.
I had that in my notes.
That drive me nuts. Von Bell. How about not just Von Bell, but all the players on the Cincinnati Bengals? They're calling it. So if you have some emotion that you need to burn up, don't use another player for a prop. Go find yourself a little space somewhere and just go and exalt or do whatever you need to do. Do not include another player. If you look at another player while you're celebrating, it's going to be a costly penalty. Don't do it. This is how it is in the NFL. They make a decision on something and the pendulum swings too far. They'll probably swing the pendulum back again a little bit, but that's so hard to monitor. Was he looking at a player when he was celebrating? Oh, that's taunting. What did he say? How did he say it? What was the language he used? Oh, is that taunting? Don't put yourself in that situation. Don't use another player in your whatever demonstration, celebration, whatever it is. Go by your lonesome. Move away from somebody. Take a knee somewhere and celebrate. Man, that was a 4-point play right there.
If they want to call it, call it. Here's the thing. You have to call it both ways, and that did not happen today.
Yeah, Zach Taylor was going nuts on that one. I mean, it could have been called. Again, I think it might boil down to, though, because the referees have rabbiters on this now, what's being said. And nobody can hear that. There aren't boom mics that are picking that up. You don't know what's being said along with some of the demonstrative actions that are happening. But man, and I understand you don't want reactions, you don't want fights and all that. But again, the pendulum has swung too far. Let the players decide the game. Don't have an official call a play that could be a huge influence in the outcome of a football game because of taunting. Oh my God, killed us. That's a killer.
I agree with you. Who takes the ball out of number 9's hands? Zach Taylor. No different than Michael Jordan. They said, who could hold Michael Jordan under 20? Dean Smith.
Yeah. Well, and here's the difference. The 49ers said, who are the guys that we need to go to win this football game? Jimmy, throw it to George Kittle. The Bengals should have said, okay, how do we win this football game? Joe, throw it to your 3 wide receivers who you distributed the ball all over the field to. You have options. Throw the ball down the field. Higgins, Chase, Boyd, Uzami, throw the football. I mean, the Bengals were in a better situation. I mean, the 49ers had Kittle, and the supporting cast was not in that kind of a situation where Garoppolo, distributed the ball all over the field like Joe Burrow did. We gave you Joe Burrow's numbers. I mean, Jimmy G was getting the ball into tight spots to George Kittle. George Kittle, this guy is all about energy, enthusiasm, effort. Football is so important to him. He plays every snap like it's the last snap of the Super Bowl. This guy loves everything there is to love about football. But Garoppolo, 15 targets, 13 catches by Kittle. Ayuk had 6 for 62. Then it drops down. 3 catches by 2 of his other receivers. Kittle had 13 catches for 151 yards. At some point, don't you realize they're going to feed the ball to 85? I mean, triple team him if you have to. I mean, that's an over exaggeration, but I mean, double Kittle, double Ayuk. Take your chances on the other one-on-one. Now, if you feel like you have to, if you can't get enough pressure out of just your front four, then you're going to, you have to change it up. You have to mix it up, have to mix your coverages. But man, for Kittle to make some of the catches he made, for the space to be available to Kittle to make some of the catches he made was the thing that surprised me a little bit. Now he made some great catches. Garoppolo made some great throws, and there were multiple people in the area. But man, shrink the space more on George Kittle. In the NFL, you're looking to create space by formations, motion, window dressing, anything to distract the eyes. And and defensively, you're trying to close that space.
Yep.
The Bengals didn't do a good enough job of closing that space. And Shanahan is the master, Dave, at creating space for people in his passing attack, the way he structures his routes.
Hey, Brandon, you and AR85, I agree with you. I look at it this way. You make the catch, you made a step. If you go down, it's a catch.
Yep. Well, the thing he did too, caught it, tucked it. He tucked it. To me, that's not a football move. What are you kidding me? Caught it, tucked it. Now they said, I hear people, you have to take more than a step for it to be a football move. Baloney. Caught it, brought it down to his waist level or into his chest to secure the football. He caught it, secured it, tucked it away. Catch. But, didn't take a step. So they ruled it as incomplete. That would have made up for Von Bell's taunting call because he's the one that reached in there and ripped that ball out of there. And he right away ran to the Bengals sideline and said, challenge it. That he caught that ball. He saw him catch it, huck it, and he punched it out of there. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Gabriel, this desk is strong. This table is strong. Dave's pumped tonight.
Man, I've been in unfortunately a few games like this, and they're great when you win them, but I'll tell you, they take some years off your life when you don't as a player. That's for sure. Years off your career.
Listen, and I'm
coaches,
going.
I can't imagine the coach's job. Man, that's tough after all that prep. Oh my God, you burn all those hours. Something like that happens. That's the thing. That's what frustrates you because you're not in control of the destiny. Your future is controlled by the destiny of players making plays or not making plays. That's what it. If we're frustrated, imagine what coaches must feel like. Man, that's a crazy job. Oh my gosh, Kevin, no question. Darren Simmons is pulling his hair out by the roots. I'm telling you, his scalp's probably bleeding right now. He's so frustrated. I mean, because nobody puts in more preparation than Darren Simmons and goes over every single detail of every single aspect of special teams like Darren Simmons does. And man, when things like that are just beyond your control and you can't control the destiny of it, man, that's got to be so frustrating.
I want to bring this up. I know Tobin gets a lot of crap.
Mm-hmm.
But when you sit there and look at some of the guys they brought on this defense.
Oh, yeah.
B.J. Hill. That's turning out to be a great trade to get rid of Billy Price and bring in B.J. Hill.
Yep.
And then you look at
Ogunjobi.
You look at
Hendrickson.
I mean, you just go down the line.
Yeah. Von Bell.
I mean, this
over the last couple of years, it's been unbelievable. The only two guys, Dave, that weren't brought in were guys that were there at the very end of the Marvin Lewis era, like 3 years ago. Sam Hubbard, Jesse Bates. Other than that, the other 9 guys, in some way, shape, or form, were trade, draft. I mean, it's amazing. They revamped that defensive football team totally personnel-wise.
And we've said it. You said it. We have a lot of conversations when we're recording during the week. Let's get Bates signed.
Yeah.
Let's get that deal done.
I'll tell you. I wonder if he had a new contract, we would have cut that ball. Because he has talked about how much that it's gotten into his head. And I'll be honest, last week against the Chargers may have been the worst game I've seen Jesse Bates play, being totally honest. I mean, it was very, very shockingly unlike Jesse Bates. And then to have the dropped interception, I mean, obviously he's pressing. Obviously he feels like he can't make a mistake. And when you're playing football feeling like you can't make a mistake, you're going to make mistakes. That's the bottom line. So, man, right now, Jesse's got to get out of his own head. He's got to get out of his own head and just have fun. Right now, it looks like it's not fun like it used to be for him. Right now, it's like he's pressing. He's feeling the pressure of the world, the weight of the world on his shoulders because of this contract situation. And man, he has to relax, like Aaron Rodgers said, RELAX, relax.
All right, I'm back and look at my notes again. 4:37 in this ball game. 49ers have the ball 20-13.
Mhm.
And you look at what Wilson ran the ball, and he goes out of bounds.
Right.
Break for the Bengals.
Yep.
He runs 2 yards. You still have all 3 timeouts left. And then you get Sample and Reader with the sack. Big play. That's, I think, the 5th sack on the day for the Bengals.
Yep.
But then you say, pass to Kittle, short of the first down, forced a punt. The Bengals come back. You have Burrow gets sacked by Bosa.
Yep.
So now it's 2nd and 18. And you hit Uzama.
At the 5-yard line, at their own 5-yard line. They go 95 yards.
Yeah. T. Higgins.
Yep.
I mean, you go through this, and then you get into Chase beats. You know what? I can forgive a drop or 2. I don't like it, but I'll forgive it when you see catches like he makes and the way he can beat. Thomas is no slouch. He's a young rookie player who has speed, has all the tools to become a good player. But when you see Chase do that, you know that this is where you should be going. It should be Burrow, Chase, Burrow, Higgins, and Boyd, and then Uzama, and then and then a little bit of Joe Mixon.
Well, I think some days if they go very light box, that's the frustrating thing. The 49ers, because they were so injured in the secondary, they went light box. They didn't bring safeties in the box. So when the box is light, you should be able to run the football better than they did. Joe Mixon averaged 3.2 yards a carry against that light box, 58 yards on 15 carries, whatever it was. That is, you have to be able to be more balanced. If they're going to go light box like that, the answer is pound the ball out of them, run them out of it, make them bring a safety down in the box, and then it's going to be easier to throw the football. But even the fact that they were playing cloud coverage, playing cover 2, and putting safeties over toward the receivers, the wider receivers, and leaving the middle of the field open. That's when the Bengals started abusing the middle of the football field with Higgins and others. You can't do everything. I mean, you have to have an answer for everything that's going on. If they're going to play soft, run them out of it. If they start dropping people down, throw the football all over the football field. And the big fly in the ointment, in my opinion, one of the big deals was they were not effective enough running the football against that light box. And the coaches said, man, we have to take advantage of this. And I give the San Francisco 49ers defensive players credit because they won the box, even though it was light. The Bengals just could not get enough action going to run them out of that. Joe Mixon, the Bengals end up rushing for 86 yards on 26 carries, 3.3 per. Joe goes 18 carries for 58, 3.2. A long run of the day of 17 yards. I don't think they had another run that was double-digit yards on the entire day. Samuel goes 27 yards outside for a touchdown. And they ran the ball for 100 yards even. The 49ers did on 23 carries. They outrushed the Bengals. Man, I'll tell you, that to me was a telltale sign that the 49ers were able to dictate to the Bengals, we're going to play quarter coverage. We're going to keep our safeties deep. We're going to double more than one of your wide receivers because you can't run the ball against 6 in the box. And until you show us you can run the ball against 6 in the box, we're going to continue to have our cake and eat it too. And that's what it boiled down to in that football game, in my opinion.
Yeah. Tony Davis is listening to you, Lap. Your good friend Tony
Tough
Davis.
Tony?
Tough Tony.
He's the man. Tough Tony's the man. I'll tell you, there was nobody. Tough Tony was out of Nebraska. Special teams captain, special teams player extraordinaire, pound for pound. Tough Tony was maybe one of the most physical, toughest players to ever play in the National Football League.
Did this cost the Bengals a playoff?
Time will tell. I mean, the thing is, when you're in a situation like they're in and you're not taking advantage of opportunities and you're lessening that margin for error, if you don't make the playoffs, you can go back to this game. You can go back to the Chargers game where you came back and couldn't finish it. Go back to the Jets game. You lose that football game. This football game. That's the problem. Is it's not just a game. They've put themselves behind the eight ball and are lessening their opportunity, and their margin for error is becoming less and less because this has happened to them multiple times. When the opportunity is there to finish, I mean, they had an 11-point lead with about 7 minutes to play against the Jets. And they had a 4-point lead with about a little over 5 minutes to play against the Jets and lost the football game. You can point to that one. You can point to this one. You can point to the Packers game, losing the Packers game at home in overtime. The Bengals have a losing record at Paul Brown Stadium now as the home team. And you have a losing record.
You've got breaks. Today was another break in the overtime. You've got the Niners kicker hit 21 consecutive field goals, and he misses. Gives you the opportunity to win a football game.
He missed at the end of regulation
to
send it into overtime. He could have kicked a game winner at the end of regulation. And the Bengals take a lead in overtime, and then 49ers go down and score a touchdown to win the football game. The sad thing is, if the Bengals get to the 26-yard line, like we say, run, then throw on third down, take the sack. If they score a touchdown, it's over. It's over. Overtime rules. If you score, the other team doesn't get the football. That's why winning the toss was so important. The Bengals win the toss, get the football, start ripping it down the field. They get on the cusp of the red zone, decide to get, let's run against that, that light box. Boom. Not so much. It never happened all day long.
Someone was asking, all right, who do we draft?
I don't have a big handle on who the better players are, and until you find out exactly where they end up record wise, they could be in the middle of the draft, the first round. They could be closer toward the end of the first round. They could be closer to the top 10 in the first round. They could be anywhere right now, because going into today's action, 12 of the 16 teams in the AFC were 500 or better. 12 of the 16. 75%, if Mrs. Riley taught me ciphering well enough. I mean, that's crazy, and we've seen it. How about this? Here's a summation.
I'm going to add this here. This is just given to me by Kevin. In overtime, the Bengals, Burrow, 2 for 2 for 50 yards, Mixon 3 carries, 7 yards.
Yeah, right. That says it all right there. Okay, here's a summation of the inconsistency and the roller coaster of the Bengals season. First 7 games of the year, 5-2. Number 1 seed. Had just beaten the Baltimore Ravens by 24 points in Baltimore with a minus turnover ratio, -1. Just had spanked them. John Harbaugh had never had a team score over 40 points on him in Baltimore. The Bengals did that. Then they lose to Baker Mayfield and Mike White by a combined 28 points. Now Baker Mayfield beat him by 25 and White beat him by 3, but it's combined 28. They outscore the Raiders and Steelers by a combined 50 points. And here it is. Here's what I was looking for about the 19 points. The Bengals are the only team in the NFL that had 4 wins of 19 or more points and 2 losses by 19 or more points this season. The only team. So they won by big margins, got blown out by big margins, in some cases not by. And then the microcosm was last week's game. First 20 minutes of the Chargers game. Chargers scored 24. The Bengals shut out 24-0. The next 25 minutes of the football game, the Bengals outscored the Chargers 22-0. The final 15 minutes, the Chargers outscored the Bengals 17-0. A microcosm of the roller coaster season right there against the Chargers in the 60 minutes of that football game. First 20 minutes, Chargers 24-0. Next 25 minutes, Bengals 22-0. Final 15, final quarter, Chargers finish it 17-0. This team is entertaining, exciting, frustrating.
I think Brandon's saying it right. Years off your life as a fan. One of the lovers today was my blood pressure. How was yours?
I know one thing. I bet Joe Burrows was 90/60. That dude, does he have a heart rate? I mean, that dude is unbelievable. There were times where mine was, I I could feel what's that big name, big vein right there,
The juggler.
jugular. I could feel that thing throbbing a few times during the course of the game.
No, Joe's one cool. Yeah.
He is Joe Cool. I mean, he is that. I have so much respect for that guy because not only did he get sacked 5 times, he was throwing the ball with guys in his ear hole now. I mean, they were right there. And he is so confident about, manipulating the pocket, stepping up. His guys are trying to, just like last week. The fact is, he gets his pinky finger dislocated, tears a ligament basically that allows his finger to dislocate as he's stepping up and trying to throw the football. And boy, if he has time to throw that ball, Jamar Chase is 5 yards open down the football field. That's a massive, huge touchdown pass, but he doesn't have time. And a strip sack, fumble, lose the ball. But guys are all around him. It's like rush hour. And he just totally blocks out what happened to him last week, doing the same thing, stepping in the pocket. Guys are trying to grab at him again. He is just unbelievably poised in the heat of the battle. I mean, the more ridiculous it gets, like the walls are closing in on him, the calmer he gets. His heart rate drops. That's what happens with the special guys. That's what they said about Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, all those guys. When it got crazy, that's when they got the most calm and just everything slowed down for them. And it's going 100 miles an hour for everybody else. And these guys are just slowly figuring it out. That's Joe Burrow. It's crazy.
I think Rob Duncan's saying, right, this team's bipolar.
I think the league's bipolar. I think the NFL, we should call it the bipolar league. Huh? I don't think, I'm not sure that Roger Goodell would like that too much. He'd probably be anti that. That one wouldn't fly.
So is this fixable over the last 4 games?
This voice you're hearing right here is the true man behind all of this. He is the man behind First Star Logistics. This is our guy, Kevin Barker. Man, the legend himself. Is it fixable? Yeah. I mean, I it is fixable. It's a little thing here, a little thing there. It's not like they're getting taken apart every single week. They're there. It's just a matter of learning how to finish, and I think teams, it's almost like, I'm not saying they learn how to lose, but some teams just never figure out how to win, how to make the plays at the biggest moment of the football game, make a play. All it is figuring out how to make a play and avoid a mistake to win a football game. A lot of times it's just avoiding a darn mistake. You don't have to light it up with a big play. Just don't be stupid with mistakes and penalties. Learn to avoid that. Just play a clean football game. Like we said before, take yourself off your schedule. The Chargers are good enough to beat you, and they did. Did you help them? Hell yes. You certainly did. This football game, are they good enough to beat you? Hell yes, and they did. Why? You made more mistakes. Take yourself off your schedule. Most teams, 12 of the 16 teams in the AFC, and that's all you have left, are AFC opponents. And all of those opponents that are remaining are 500 or better. Are they good enough to beat you? Hell yes. Don't help them. Don't help them. That's the first thing in order to fix it, to be able to win the football games. Play smart, clean football.
Cecil says, I'm struck by the lack of fundamentals in today's NFL compared to teams back in your era. That I don't care what level of game you're talking, high school, college, pro. That's because of all the precautions being taken and the limited number of hours of practice anymore. They're not in the days. I mean, we've had conversations about when you played about how training camp was 3 months long, basically.
Yeah, it seemed like it. It was 9 weeks. I had a training camp that was 9 weeks long. It was over 2 months.
Yeah,
we were right after the 4th of July. It was 9 weeks long. We played 7 preseason games, 6 games, and a Hall of Fame game. 7 games that didn't mean a thing. Squadouche, nothing.
Not happening today.
I'm like, what? This was 1975, my second year in the league. We played 11 games in college. So my second year in the NFL, we play 7 games that mean nothing. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I mean, this is a lot of contact for nothing now. Yeah, but it's not that way today. But I will say that it is all about fundamentals. And I've said this a bunch of times, and I'll say it again. The legendary Paul Brown, my first head coach, my first 2 years in the National Football League, he said this, and I was sitting there and I thought, man, it's so simple, but it's so brilliant. He said, man, and of course, Bill Walsh was our quarterback coach and basically pass game coordinator at the time. And he said, Bill and I, we can trick them. We can figure out ways to trick them some. But at some point, to win football games, men, you have to block people. And guys, you have to tackle people. If you don't block people, you don't tackle people, it doesn't make a darn bit of difference what Bill and I do. Fundamentals. You have to be able to block people and move them against their own will. And you have to be able to get them on the ground, tackle people. That is football.
All right, Dave, you've been here. You've had a long day.
Yes.
So first off, thanks for coming into the studio after this game. As heartbreaking as it was, we appreciate you coming in. And any last thoughts before we shut this down? We want to thank everybody who came on and had comments tonight. And we look to do more live streams going forward. We've been kind of working our way up into this, but we want to do more. And we thank everybody who joined us tonight for this special live stream following this heartbreaking loss for all Bengal fans.
Well, I mean, to me, Dave, the bottom line is it's a very simple thing. Going into this football game in the turnover department, the Bengals were -2. Now they sit -4. If you consider yourself a playoff team, 13 games into the regular season, you cannot be -4. For the Bengals to make a playoff run and to qualify for the playoffs in the last 4 games, they're going to have to go +4. They're going to have to try to get it back to even. They can't be giving possessions away. They can't be saying, here you go. We're good enough. You can have an extra. I don't need that possession. You can have another one. No way. No way. And don't be putting your defense in tough situations, short fields. They responded again on the first turnover today and held it to a field goal. They've done an amazing job on putting out fires, sudden changes. Don't put them in those situations anymore. I'm telling you, if they just – everybody's still striving for that perfect game, but avoid the penalty bug. No, don't make mental errors with your assignments. Be assignment sound. Avoid silly penalties. Take care of the football. You do those basic things, block, tackle, basic fundamental things. This team has enough personnel to win football games. They can win all 4 of the remaining football games. They can also lose all 4 of the remaining football games. In order to win all 4 of the remaining football games, they need to get themselves off the schedule. All 4 of those teams are good enough to do it on their own.
Hey, Dave, Doug's worried about Phillips. He says he's not going to make it home tonight because he's sure he dropped his car keys in the sewer. So someone may want to go down to Paul Brown Stadium and look for someone walking around with his head low.
I think Darren Simmons may have thrown him in the sewer. He wants to make him walk home. He doesn't want to let him drive home. Man, I'm telling you, it's unfortunate. And honestly, the Darren Phillips I know right now is crushed. It's not like Darren Phillips doesn't feel worse about it than anybody. And you talk about not sleeping tonight. I don't know when he's going to be able to close his eyes and get a good night's sleep. I mean, those kind of days devastate you, and
he's going to be thinking about being on that combine.
Oh man. I mean, I remember, you go home and you got a wife and kids and you're thinking, maybe, spending some time with the wife and kids, that'll make it better. Well, it doesn't really make it all that much better because, you're not good company to be around because you're so aggravated about how that football game unfolded. And, it's your living. I mean, it's like if you're a salesperson and you go 3 months without closing the deal, how the hell do you feel? Not very good about yourself, right? You lose. This is like you worked all week long to put together this great presentation, and then when the presentation was to come about, you either forgot to bring part of it, or the dog ate it, or the rain rained on it or whatever, and you didn't have your full presentation. That's what it's like when you prepare all week long for a football game. Then you go out there and you don't perform up to your expectations, and you lose a football game. Man, it's tough, because that whole week was just like, man, all that work for nothing. All that work that I did, all that preparation, all that film study, all that lifting weights, all that running for this. Can't believe that I did that. That's what it feels like. It's terrible.
Again, thanks everybody for being with us live tonight following the Bengals overtime loss to the 49ers. Be sure to check out Dave Lapham in the Trenches, brought to you by First Star Logistics. We want to thank First Star Logistics for everything they do for us.
And my man
Kevin's here. He's toughing it out with us.
Yes.
He's as heartbroken as all Bengal Nation is. And but we be sure to check out the channel on YouTube. Follow Dave on Twitter at DL in the Trenches, and also check out his Facebook page to get updates of what we're doing. Until next time, hey,
I got a face for radio though, Dave.
we're gonna let Dave go home.
Facebook.
We're gonna let Dave go home and spend some time with the wife. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave. Enjoyed it very much. And you know what, Bengal fans, let's hope together it'll get better. We got 4 games left. Another quarter of football. 4 to go. 2 division opponents. Control our own destiny. Right now, what's the destiny? We don't know, but we control it.
Good night, everybody.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.